Well, Roger, it is so good to have you on the podcast today. I've been super excited just to have a chat with you. And first of all, tell us where you are currently located and what do you do?
So currently located in Bathurst, New South Wales, and I currently am a chaplain at a school called Bathurst West Public School. It's a primary school, and also an associate pastor here at Bathurst Seventh-day Adventist.
Yeah, tell us what's it like being a school chaplain in that particular area. I know off air that you and I have talked about Bathurst. Like when people think Bathurst, the first thing that comes to mind, if you're based in Australia, you know the big V8 supercar race that happens in Bathurst. My question is, like, what's Bathurst like, and what's that community like that you serve in?
Um, Bathurst is really beautiful. It's like I thought it was just country farm, like rural, but it's not. It's like a the wife puts it perfectly. She describes it as it's like Christchurch. Even the weather, um, this minus the city that Christchurch has, but it's sort of like the setting like that. Everywhere you go, there's parks. Everywhere you go, there's like stadiums and things to like for kids to do and stay active. And but the town's quite small, but not too small, and it's not too big either. So
Yeah,
yeah, and you're
that
right. First thing that comes to mind is the V8 supercars that happen here. So people worldwide come to watch these cars racing. But yeah, you're right.
tell us about the work you do at the school there and in Bathurst. You said it's a primary school, and what sort of chaplaincy stuff do you do at the primary school?
So in the primary school, when we first got there, it was, this was very new to the public school that we were working at. It was new also to them, like, working in a public school, having a chaplain. To them, they were thought they were going to get a white old man, who was a pastor or some sort of church. And I get there, they're like, "You're not old," but you know, it was great. The staff really helped to with figuring out what chaplaincy looks like in that space with the young kids. And so basically, it was to focus on their well-being. And before we started doing up any other programs or anything that would invest in the kids, we just did things that they would love to do, whether it was bull rush on the oval, getting tired chasing the kids around, or if it was basketball or playing touch footy or rugby. Um, we just got involved. We just built that rapport, but it wasn't just the rapport with the kids; it was also the rapport with the staff, the principal, and we found that really helped because we are a chaplain in a school that's about over 500 kids,
At a
and
primary
so
school?
yeah, 500 in a
Man,
public school. And yeah, we thought, what, it's hard to try and catch all of them, but if we also invest in the staff, that way the quality of what they do and what they bring can still continue to add value to the kids. And
yeah.
so
What has been
this
some of
year
those
we
things?
to the staff. So to the staff, it's just more like little things like uh, turning up to the coffee cart before they do, and like paying for their coffees and not knowing. Um, but eventually, the ladies at the coffee van will tell, "Hey, this big guy came and paid for your stuff," and I was like, "Oh, our chaplain." And then even the coffee people are like, "Oh, he's a chaplain." But just doing little small acts of kindness. If you hear that they're going through some tough times in the classrooms or even outside of school, then we pop in when they're free. Hey, how you going? We're here to talk to you and here to listen as well, and just really to be there genuinely for that person. Like I the, coming from a religious space to a public space, you kind of have to like put away all those agendas and make sure that you're coming from a genuine space, that you're there to add value to them rather than finding value that'll add to you, if it makes sense.
Yeah. How has your church community been supportive in your role at the school? Because I imagine that's a new thing, right? You're new to the school, but it's also new for the church that you belong to. And I guess many of our chaplains, they are connected to their local church. But how have you seen the links between church help with your work in a school?
At the moment, it started off with the senior pastor. His name is Ramon Palatua. Um, so the way we work and the way we were able to help the school is through our food pantry. And before I even got here, Ramon had approached these schools and said, "Look, just give me a magic number of families that you think would need a food parcel." And what this did was, because when their first response was, "Oh, I think there'll be about three," but I think what this did was keep the school accountable on the families that were going through
Right.
some tough times. And so they came
Yeah.
back with a number of like, "Oh, there's actually 20 families going through some tough times." And so we're like, "Okay, good, no worries. We'll deliver you the parcel so you can deliver to the family." And they said, "Oh, who do we say it's from?" I was like, just we don't. It doesn't need to trace back to us. And it was just that no, not having an agenda, not wanting it to come back. And so the school delivered it up until the school decided there was a bit too much for them to do. That they're kind of like, "Okay, we trust these guys with
Wow.
our families, and let's ask them to go and deliver these parcels." And so while we do things in our school, what Ramon has set up with our chaplaincy, because they started asking for chaplains, um, Ramon is out there delivering the food to the family. And
Wow.
what he's found is that he people are asking and openly asking for prayer, like, "We're going through this, and can you pray for us?" Or, "My daughter's really ill in the hospital, and could you pray for them?" And so, like, there's this bridge, and also there are some things that have been donated to our church that we've been able to give to the school, just
Wow.
for free. And they're like, they asked us, "How much is it?" And we're like, "No, this is just a gift to add value to their space." And that's all it was, just adding value to them. How do we uplift your value? And yeah, that's the basic principle around what we do there, with the
That's
church
so,
coming in to help.
yeah. That's so amazing, Roger, just because um, the church with the hands and feet of Christ, and this is the area that we want to be in. But to have trust
Mhm.
from a public school or from a public sector, that's probably the biggest compliment. And
Yeah,
I'm sure that would have been a surprise for them, going, "Oh, we give you a magic number, three."
yeah,
But then when you show up with the goods with your intentionality, I think that's the thing that I really want to highlight is you're intentional about serving. When you show up and go, "Hey, it's not three, it's 23."
yeah,
They're probably thinking, "Oh, these guys are probably just saying three." But when you do provide that service or provide that support, they will
yeah.
be totally blown away, totally surprised. What has been something in the school that has surprised you in your chaplaincy role since you've started recently?
Um, it's it was my love for. My surprise was finding the love for young people in primary school. Usually you want a chaplain like a high school because you get to do more stuff, you get to run around. But I think I've grown a love for the primary school area, because we really get to set up the platform for these kids moving up to high school. Like, we're noticing in this COVID era, there's a lot of anxiety happening because they didn't have as much transition periods. Because I'm here in New South Wales, I never got that in Queensland, where every end of term the kids got to go to high school and they got the transition into high school. They do that here, and so with COVID happening, they've cut that off, and so there's a lot of anxiety for some of the year 6s going to year 7. So we've been able to again nurture that, and get alongside with them, because some of them are really hard on themselves. Some of them come from unstable homes, and it's really just showing that we really care about your process, and we're here to help however we can, but also say that when you fail, get up and let's keep going, and just normalizing failure, and that we are not labeled failures as a person, but that we will fail at things, but we get up and keep going. And so that's kind of the principle we kind of work with the kids. And so, yes, that's why I love. It's kind of surprised me,
Yeah,
my love for this space, for the
yeah.
young kids. Again, in years 4 to 5, oh no, 3 to 4, we've been able to find leadership groups within this years 3 and 4. And
Tell us more
I'm
about that. I
sitting
love
down with
that.
these young people, and I'm like, "Hey guys, what are some projects?" And they're throwing it at me like, I really think we should vamp up the garden. I want to. These are little kids, and I'm like, and I think that's what it was like. Just my mindset going into it, it was like, oh, young people. It's like you can't do much, but it's blown me away how much you can't write off young people because they are dreaming, they are visioning just as much as those in high school. And I think if we capture it here, they'll continue to dream, they'll continue to grow in that process in high school. And so, yeah, I've really grown a love for this space in the primary school.
Awesome. I know you're a family man. You have three beautiful kids, and they're all in that primary age as well. How do they respond to dad's job? And obviously, I don't know if they're at the same school or not. Are they at the same school or they're at a different
Not,
school?
not at the same school.
So,
Um,
so my question is, do they go, Dad, can you be our chaplain? How has your kids or your family responded to you in the chaplaincy space?
Um, when we first got here, and we signed them up to a school here in Eglinton, um, it was weird because we dropped them off, and then we only had the one car at the time, and the wife was like, "Okay, you gotta go drop off dad," and they're like, "Drop them off where?" And like, "To school." And it's like, "Does dad need to go to school too?" He's like, "Yeah, he's the chaplain for the school." And it's like, and so they begin to ask questions. What's a chaplain? And they're like, "Oh, it's just people. It's people who love Jesus, but they go and care for people. They go and like care for these kids in other schools." And so they're like,
Right.
"Oh, I want to go to that school." But I think it's worked out for the better. Just learning how to differentiate things, and if they were to come to school, can I switch off being a father? Like just some of that stuff. But they really enjoy going to their own school, and then and knowing that that's what I do in another space.
Yeah, Rog, one of the question that I often ask our guests is a lot of our work is about serving, inspiring, encouraging, empower, and we use all sorts of descriptive words for the positive things that we do. Where did that come from for you? Like, who's spoken to your life that has made you go, wow, if that person believes in me, I want to be able to do the same for kids in schools? Like, are there particular people or a person that probably comes to mind that has done that for you?
Um, I think all that started to come, from the process of meeting the wife to college, and then meeting the mentors and the family friends that I've built over at Avondale. Um, I think that came later on, because I was always one that was like, I, I'll never amount to this, and so I really didn't care. I just did whatever I thought I was good at, which was manual work and just sports every day, which in North Road and all other, or like volleyball comps and church outings. But I kind of really didn't think much of it until I had people started to care about who I am, and started to care about. I started to see the potential that I had, and that's what it took, Ray. It took those little things to keep building, and I don't think I'd be ready for Evan now if it wasn't for those small steps, or those the well, the wife and other friends um, believing in that process, and then getting to Evan now and finding the mentors and the family friends that I have now, and where they just invest in you, and they begin to show you things that, like, that's a gift. That's what you do naturally. And I'm like, is it really a gift? It's like, yeah, it's a gift. Your ability, for example, my ability to connect with people. I don't think it was a gift. It was just something I do.
Right.
And it wasn't until Pastor Ed pointed out, like, no, that's a gift, bro. I'm like, oh, I didn't really think much of it. And so
Yeah.
he made me realize these things, and other mentors, and just begin to build a niche, and it kind of helped me reveal that. And so the reason why I'm so passionate to give back in this space
Yeah.
is because I didn't have that in primary school. I had people trying to teach me English. I think we called it ESL back in the day. But we never had someone to get alongside you, to build your character, to navigate some sort of values in your life that you can lead by. Yeah, and I think that's a passion that I look forward to in this space. Is like making sure that these kids have a better platform than I did.
Roger, if there was a word of advice or encouragement for other chaplains, for people who may be sitting on the fence of whether to say, hey, maybe chaplaincy is for me, because I know for you, you were sort of like, oh, it didn't happen the way it did, but you were overly grateful for it. What would be that word of advice for someone who's thinking about chaplaincy and about the work that you do in schools?
My advice would be to remember who you are and remember your why. You could have a passion in many other things, but to have this privilege to be able to invest in young people, it comes from here. It comes from who you are. It comes from your values. It comes from your direction in life, and to be in the primary school space or chaplaincy space, it's really getting to invest the best of you into these young people, to whatever chaplaincy space you're in, whether it be at school, whether it be for the hospitals, wherever it be. It really comes from you, and like we can have all these head knowledge of things to teach, or programs of things to teach, but all that is filtered through the person of you, and the way it comes out, people cling on to that, people love that, and so give it a go, and when you do it, don't lose you. Be you, because that's what gives value to that space. That's what adds value to that space, and just try it, guys. It's a privilege to be able to invest in young lives, and to be able to guide them and to be able to advise them. It's can't find the word for it. It's fulfilling. It's fulfilling to be able to pour the best of you into someone else, so that they can go on to do better. And so just give it a go, guys, and don't lose you. Don't lose you in the process, because the best version of you will pour out into that young person, or into that space.
Awesome. Thank you again, Roger. I know you're a busy man, and really appreciate a lot of the words of wisdom that you shared, and even your experiences. And so if you're a chaplain, a current chaplain that's already out there thinking, man, how else can I add more tools to the tool belt? How can I better equip myself? What are some initiatives? You've heard it from Roger himself in terms of connecting with church and school, but also getting buy-in and just serving the needs of their community. So appreciate your time, Roger, and I hope to connect with you in person shortly once this whole lockdown thing happens. But I'm sure we will see each other very shortly. Thank you again, Roger.
Come down and visit.
That's right.
And we'll race around the track.
Cheers. Thanks, bro.
Love you all.
Bye.
Love to the family.
Yeah.